All right, welcome back, wargamers and fellow historians. Welcome back to another Let's Play. We're playing 1939 scenario, and now we are going to jump into the Battle of France. It only seems proper. It only seems proper that we figure out how the French would call the Battle of France. Bataille de France. Bataille de France. Let's find out how the French would say it. Because it was their battle, and German battle, and Belgium Luxembourgian, Dutch, not Norwegian, but Dutch, Bataille de France.
Bataille de France.
Bataille de France. Okay, we. Let's begin. Very excited for this battle. It's going to be an interesting battle. And I've done the scenario many a times, and it can vary a lot. So we're going to go ahead and begin the log file. And there we go, log file has begun. And we're now going to switch over to the Axis side and we're going to start the operation. So there's a number of ways to approach the Battle of France, but the key to the battle, the area of success, if you will, is in Belgium. Just like in World War One, the focus is on Belgium. Also, the Meuse River, big important area to explore. But the first rule, since we kind of are, using rules quite a bit in this game, the first rule I want to point out is a rule that affects this fortress unit. We know based off of our intelligence, German intel that is, we have determined the location of a Belgian fort. And the way Belgian fortress units work is that they have triple defense, meaning to remove one of their steps, you have to score 3 hits, which is very significant, right? 3 hits. So if you have a level 2 uh, fortress unit, you have to score 6 hits in total. Anything less than that, hits are going to be ignored. You score 3 hits in total, and the result is going to be how you say um, going to be a removed, defeated, overrun fortress unit. Same thing with the French units along the Maginot River. So, along the Maginot Line. You can assume, if you've got 11 steps altogether, 11 times 3, you have to score 33 hits. If you have a 1 in 6 chance of scoring 33 hits, right? If you have a 1 in 6 chance of scoring 33 hits, you have to then roll 198 dice in order to completely defeat the Maginot Line. So, not an easy line to break through is the point here. But the rule I want to bring up is a rule having to do with minor powers. So we're also going to have to go over French armistice rules as well. I will mostly explain those rules. I won't spend too much time in the rule book. The rules are in the link below. So, you can feel free to download those rules and take a peek yourself. But the main point um, is that there is this Eben and Mao fortress unit. So it's 20.72, and it says the Belgian fort unit must be located in Liège, which is where it's located right now, right here at Liège. It loses all fort abilities, becoming infantry when engaged by an air-dropped enemy para unit. And here's another rule. It says set on appendix. Oh yeah, one French unit can be deployed in Philippeville hex while Belgium is neutral, and that's what we have over here. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the sequence. Let's see how it goes. We're going to work our way through it nice and steady, roll the dice, see what happens, and see if we can learn a little bit of history along the way. That's probably the most valuable thing that we can get from the whole experience. So one question I have, one of you mentioned how there was a border dispute basically between the French and the Germans during the invasion of Poland, and I kind of want to ask ChatGPT that question. Um, did the French invade? Did the French attack Germany during the invasion of Poland? And I want to verify this. I want to make sure that our history is accurate. We're using, ChatGPT software, AI software. The AI, I would say, is somewhere in the ballpark of about 90 to 100% accurate. So it's using, documentation from its pool of data, but it is not 100%. But the short answer is yes. So you were right. When Germany invaded Poland on 1st September 1939, France, which had guaranteed Poland's borders, declared war on Germany on the 3rd of September. A week later, the French army launched what became known as the Saar Offensive. My goodness, they launched a full offensive. The 7th to the 16th of September 1939. What the French actually did, about 11 French divisions crossed the German border into the Saar region. That's exactly what we did, actually, at Saarbrücken. They occupied a few light defended villages and forts. They did not engage in major battles, advance deeply, or seriously challenge German forces. By mid September, the French stopped advancing, and by early October, after Poland had been defeated, they withdrew back behind the Maginot Line. So, in fact, what we did in our game was more or less to what happened historically, which is really interesting. I didn't know that. Why was it so limited? France expected a long war and prioritized defense. The bulk of the German army was fighting in Poland, but the French were not prepared for large scale offensive operations. We know this. Political and military leadership was cautious, assuming that a long blockade, not a quick offensive, would defeat Germany. France technically attacked Germany during the invasion of Poland, but the action was small scale, cautious, and it had no significant impact on relieving pressure on Poland. That is certainly true. Did either side suffer casualties? That's what I want to know. Suffer casualties. Did either side suffer casualty? Let's find out. Um, yes, both sides suffered casualties, but the numbers were very small compared to major World War II battles. During the Saar offensive, France suffered roughly 200 to 300 killed, several hundred wounded, a few dozen missing. Estimates vary slightly because the fighting was scattered and limited. German forces suffered around 150 to 200 killed, several hundred wounded. So it was a very, very, very light engagement. Germany also lost some prisoners and experienced minor material losses during small skirmishes and artillery exchanges. Why casualties were low? Well, we kind of already know why. It was a very limited offensive. The French advanced cautiously and did not push far into Germany. German forces defending the border were relatively small and mostly conducting delaying actions. There were no major battles or large offensives. Overall, the Saar offensive was very low intensity operation compared to what was happening in Poland at the same time. Absolutely. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and activate Army Group North. Because Eindhoven is isolated, because of these rivers, these Belgian and Dutch forces have no zone of control over Eindhoven, while our units located in Cologne do. And so this is technically a German controlled area, so we can go ahead and deploy this HQ into Eindhoven. It is friendly controlled, and we're going to make it a Blitz HQ. While that's going on, I'm going to activate both Supreme HQs, and we're going to do something very interesting. We're going to activate OKW and use it as air support. We're going to go ahead and activate this OKH, and we're going to make it a Parajob HQ. I'm thinking, let me think here. I wonder if we should make OKW. No. We're going to stick to what we have here. And we're going to make it a Parajob HQ. And basically, this unit, this first Paratrooper Corps, is going to be used to do an airdrop right at Liege. Basically making this fortress unit into a standard infantry unit, making it much easier for us to break through. And the actual operation that took place to secure a particular Belgian fort, I believe it's called Eben Emael, was fascinating. But basically, German paratroopers landed on top of the fortress with gliders, and then they entered the bunker system. Yep, it's one particular fort. I want to see. Oh, here it is. So really just one fort. Um, it's not just a system of fortresses, but rather it's one fort. In our game, it's presumably a system of fortresses because it's an entire core. But basically, the Germans were able to land on the fortress and with gliders, so very precise landing, and then assault from above. Basically, find ways to sneak into the bunker system, and the elite German troops overran the Belgian defenses. But it's a very interesting skirmish. It took place on the 10th to 11th of May, 10th to 11th of May, 1940. Let's see here. I want to see any information on casualties. Only 6 German casualties, 20 wounded. Well, 26 technically. 100 killed or wounded, 1,000 captured. Meaning that this was in the Pacific Theater. I mean, the fighting would have been even more intense. They would have fought to the bitter end. But I want to see what's the name of the operation. Maybe we can find some information on that. Background. Fall Gelb. Plan Yellow. German High Command. I'm looking through Wikipedia, but I'm really tempted to once again ask the software, what is the name of the operation of the Battle of Fort Eben Imel? Operation Granite. I thought it was Operation Gambit for a moment. Operation Granite. The glider-borne assault. So let's see if Wikipedia has anything on Granite. Group Granite. So it's Group Granite. 9, looks like about 11 gliders altogether. How many gliders were in the operation? I'm assuming 11, based off of what I saw there on the Wikipedia. Yep, 11 DFS 230 gliders. These carried about 78 paratrooper engineers from the Sturmabteilung Koch. So 11 gliders. Interesting. Wow, about 42 gliders altogether. So other operations to secure nearby bridges and entire airborne plan for nearby bridges plus the fort. So it was one fort and a series of bridges. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, so that's what we're doing now. We're basically landing our paratroopers, attacking the fort. We're going to put an air assault icon right there. And then we're now going to start moving around our formations, basically. So how are we going to do this? I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move an armored corps, and we're going to do a river assault as well as an air assault across Liege, and I'm going to go ahead and send a Panzer Corps straight in because I want to achieve a breakthrough there. I want to achieve a breakthrough there as much as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and send a Panzer Corps there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to now move in the remaining Panzer Corps. I wish I had a level 4 Panzer Corps, another one. I only have one. But I want to attack the Ardennes forest, and I'm thinking I should probably maximize the firepower there. But of course, any casualties that we sustain will be on our German corps, so it's a bit of a risk. But I'm going to go ahead and send 3 Panzer Corps into the Ardennes forest. Basically stack up all our Panzer Corps. All our Panzer Corps are basically moving west. So that's what we're going to do. We're also going to attack Amsterdam. So we'll send one infantry that way, another infantry this way, another infantry this way. Let's see. I think what I'll do is move this 38 Corps to the north, and then this infantry corps, I'm actually going to move down south, like so. We're going to stack up 2 infantry in Eindhoven. Actually, no, we're going to put 1 infantry unit in Eindhoven, and then we're going to put a weaker infantry, a German Panzer Corps in Eindhoven as well. We can only put 3 units on swamp terrain. So we're going to do that. Let's see what else. Then I'm going to do some strategic moves with OKW. And let's see, the first strategic move I want to do, the first two I'm going to do is move this 5th and 6th Corps from this defense along the Maginot Line and actually have them march to the north. I don't really need them there. So we're going to have them move north and kind of cluster around Cologne effectively. And then what else am I going to do? I can also do another strategic move, and I think I'm going to move this 19th Corps. So we did 2 strategic moves there. They are not going to be rail moves. They're going to be marching, so that they can be deployed in further operations. But I'm going to go ahead and move this 19th Militia Corps. It's actually part of a larger corps, and we're actually going to move it to Bergen. So it's going to move 2 strategic moves, 1, 2, and have it land in Bergen. And the only thing that I really would want to do is move this unit to the eastern front to cover this one hex, one vacant hex. But because it's OKW and not OKH, I can't, because it can't command the eastern front unless located on the eastern front. We'll actually go ahead and deploy this HQ4 too. And so that's looking pretty good. Um, let's see, what else can I do? I think that's pretty much it as far as operations. We'll move these 3 Panzer Corps, and we're going to put them in Frankfurt. Put them there. So you can see that we've got a lot of infantry stacked up in behind the Panzer Corps that are attacking. We got another smaller group of Panzer Corps as some kind of strategic reserve. And then the only thing I would want to change more is I want to have another unit reinforcing Amsterdam. I want to have another full strength infantry corps reinforcing. And right now I only have this 84th Corps. It's at level 3. I'd rather have it be at level 4. So we'll go ahead and move this army group center to Frankfurt. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this 8th Corps and have it march to the Ruhr. I'll zoom in a bit too. So we did 4 strategic moves with OKW. 2 more left, but there's nothing to really move around. I think I also will go ahead and move this 10th Corps and put it in the, what is that, mines? And basically have it located in range of this Army Group North. When it's on the Blitz phase, it's going to be at level 2, 2 command level or command value. And so I want as many units to be in range as possible when attacking on the Blitz phase. All right, so there's that. So we've stacked up all our units. We're going to now put our airstrikes. I'm going to go ahead and put the airstrike here in Namur or Liege. I'll put an airstrike here in the Ardennes Forest. And I think we're now ready for the battles. And so we'll see how it goes. It really comes down to good dice. But we have favorable dice rolls. Good. We have double fire and triple fire available. So first we'll start with the Battle of Amsterdam. The Dutch have two defense. They actually have double defense, but they have two hits, two rolls. They score no hits. We roll 12 dice. We should be able to score one hit. And like that, we do. Excellent. There we go. So that's one hit there. Now for the Battle of Liege and Namur. Airstrike is triple fire for the Axis. And so we can see here we're doing summer 1940. It's triple fire right now. Technically, it's actually winter 1939 still because we're in the month of May, but we still have triple fire. And so we're going to roll 3 dice. We score 2 hits, just like that. Excellent. And just like that, we've eliminated the Belgian fort with just airstrikes. Just like that, we achieve a good breakthrough. And now another critical battle, the Battle of the Ardennes Forest. We want to break through on this turn. Triple fire rolls first. We score 1 hit. The Belgians have double defense. They score no hits. Good. Now we need to score 3 hits with our 9 dice roll at double fire. We should be able to score 3 hits. 1. Ah, dang it. We only scored 1 hit. So the Panzer Corps failed to break through in the Ardennes Forest, which is unfortunate. But it's not completely over yet. We'll now do the Blitz phase. Deactivate OKW. We're going to deactivate Hanover. And so the Supreme HQs are deactivated. We have a Blitz HQ now at level 2. And now we can do further moves. And what we're going to do is we're going to move this Panzer Corps into Philippeville. I'm also thinking maybe we should send in another infantry or armored unit into Philippeville. I'm not sure which. I think the wisest move would be to send armor, but I think I'm going to go ahead and send an infantry unit instead because something tells me if we fail to break through at Philippeville, we're going to be in for quite a war of attrition against the French. Um, and I don't know, the French have double fire, by the way. If we look at the rules for the French have a lot of rules. Um, but basically, let's see here, I can find it. Something on French units, French forces. French army artillery. French infantry units, due to their size, they're really large. Each step is about 40,000 troops. Due to their size and strong artillery, have double defensive firepower. Offensive firepower remains single fire. So they get to roll double fire. So they have really good hits. So I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and send an infantry unit to contest the French forces at Philippeville. Then we're going to go ahead and send this corps, this German corps, all the way to Ostend and surround Brussels. We're going to send this infantry army comprised of 3 corps, and we're going to send it to Mons right there. And then, let's see what else. We're going to also attack Brussels. Before we attack Brussels, I'm going to move this German corps from Groningen to Alkmaar and send it across this strait right there. And it's going to cut off the national supplies that the Dutch have from Rotterdam, right? Because this is now going to be German controlled. That hex, and this unit is going to lose national supplies. And national supplies is supplies that traces from the capital to London. And if it loses national supplies, it's going to be put out of supplies. So that's the idea. And then we'll go ahead and send 1 German infantry unit into Brussels. I want to send more German infantry unit into Brussels, but it looks like I can't, or it looks like I don't have any units at the moment. We'll send 1 German infantry unit into Amsterdam, and then we'll go ahead and send this German army into Namur Liege. Because this paratrooper unit has already done a paradrop, it actually cannot move. It's not able to move during the blitz phase. So we can't move it for stacking reasons. And then I have 1 more Panzer Corps available. And it's like, what other unit do I want to move forward? I don't want to send 2 infantry to Brussels. Move this unit to move 2 infantry unit into Eindhoven. Go ahead and do that. Put an HQ at Cologne. Put another HQ unit at Cologne as well. And then I have one more Panzer Corps available. And I'm thinking we send it into Brussels. Because attacking with 1 infantry is a little weak. We should attack with more troops if we can. So I might cancel this march, this move, this 13th Corps. I might cancel it from moving it to Mons, and I might send it into Brussels instead. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I might have to do that instead. So we'll do a quick modification here. Move this unit into Brussels like so. And in this way, we have 2 units attacking Brussels. Of course, our line at the Mons is a bit thin. Only 2 infantry, only 8 corps, 8 divisions rather, 2 corps defending. The Allies could attack and do substantial damage against our German frontline units. Our units are kind of spread thin at the front line. We only have 2 units, a density of 2 units at the front line, so it's a bit thin. But I think we're gonna have to hold out while the see what the Allies do. And then we'll put, we got 2 more corps left to move around. And I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, oh, I just realized we can cancel this move. And then I'm going to actually pull back one of these German infantry units from Amsterdam and bring it back to Eindhoven. We don't need that many German units in the north. I think that should be good. And then we only have these Panzer Corps, the strategic reserve of Panzer Corps, and figure out where do I want to put them. I think I'm going to put one Panzer Corps in the Ruhr, and then the other remaining 2 I'm going to put in Cologne and just stack up there. The idea is we're trying to move as many units as we can to the west. And I could put the Panzer Corps in Mons. It's in range to reach the Mons, but I kind of want to save it as a reserve and use it offensively elsewhere if I can. That's the idea. I want to have as many Panzer Corps reserved as possible before I do the main German breakthrough. So we achieved one breakthrough, which was in Belgium, which is a little bit different than what we saw historically. But I want to achieve a second breakthrough if possible. So there's that. We're going to put the airstrike in Philippeville. And we're going to do 2 battles now, 3 battles actually. We're going to do a battle at the Ardennes. We're going to do a battle at Philippeville and a battle of Brussels. And so let's see how it goes. First, we'll do Ardennes. The Belgians score no hits. This unit is also, I believe, cut off. It's going to be out of supplies. German Panzer roll. They score 2 hits, 1 hit, 3 hits total. And the German infantry scores the last hit, so this unit is eliminated. Actually, we only needed 2 hits. So boom, we've taken the Ardennes Forest. Battle of Philippeville, arguably the most important battle of the whole operation. Here we go. Air support scores 1 hit against the French. 80,000 casualties on the French just on air support. The French roll double fire. They score no hits. No hits from the French. Go ahead and roll the German Panzer Corps and Infantry Corps. Ooh, and the Germans score 3 hits, wiping out the French army there. Each step is about 40,000. So presumably the French have lost an entire army, the Fourth Army, and that's about 200,000 casualties for the French. And like that, we are just clearing out the Allied presence right now. Then we'll do the Battle of Brussels. This battle is supported, but we're only attacking with infantry. We don't have any armor or air support. The Belgians are going to roll. They score 3 hits. Yeah, that's pretty brutal against the Germans. Then let's see. I think I'm going to have a little bit of tea. I got some green tea. The Germans are going to roll only 5 die or dice, I'm not sure. And we'll see what they score. No hits, so there's that. And we don't need to attack Amsterdam because Amsterdam is going to be it's already put out of supplies. So we'll go ahead and deactivate Army Group North, which I think was called Army Group A. Um, let's see. Can you explain the name of the 3 German army groups during Case Yellow, and where was their axis of attack? Let's see what we get here. While that's being loaded, this unit's going to be out of supplies, and so will this unit at Brussels. It's going to be put out of supplies as well. Its supply path um, would trace across this strait, but because the Germans control both the north and southern part of the strait is blocked off. It says here, during Fall Gelb, the German plan for the invasion of France and the Low Countries used 3 army groups. Army Group B, Heeresgruppe B, was the northern thrust. So Army Group North would be Army Group B. Army Group A is the main decisive blow. This is the one through Ardennes Forest. Army Group A was this army group over here. And then we had an Army Group C, which is the one that's attacking in the center. That's basically what I understand. So let's see if we can get some more information on that, on the 3 army groups. See if we can find a good Wikipedia image, maybe, of the army groups. I don't think there is one, which is surprising. I mean, maybe if you get a really good history book, I'm sure you'll get a lot more information on it than simply Google searching on Wikipedia. Here, might be what I'm looking for. This is Britannica, and let's see, that looked like a pretty good image. These are photographs, but I want to see that map. My computer is loading. It doesn't look like I see it anywhere. Might be this one. What I think I may have to do, what I will do, I was going to reload the image. And let's see if we can take a look and find out. Oh, here we go. It's the same thing again. All right, what I'll do is go ahead and save the image. And then we'll open it. Open it on Google. And let's take a look. Here we go. So we got 3 arrows, and there we go. Okay, so that was right. Army Group B is attacking north. That was the army group that was attacking Amsterdam. Army Group A, we're verifying this search here. Army Group A was the main decisive blow according to ChatGPT. Okay, so that's the central drive, apparently. And then Army Group C is the holding and pinning force. I would think that they are the opposite. And I would think that the holding and pinning force is the one that's driving through central Belgium. And then I would think that Army Group A, based off of what they were saying, was the main decisive blow. I think this is the one that's going through the Ardennes forest. So I'm actually getting some confusing information here. Let's see, Army Group A was a holding and pinning force, but according to this map, Army Group C was not the holding and pinning force. It was the decisive force. Oh, but maybe Army Group C was, when they say holding and pinning, they're referring to pinning down the Maginot Line. So Army Group C is operating along the Maginot Line. Army Group A is the main force, including the Ardennes force, but it also includes the drive that we did breaking through at Liège and Namur and eastern Belgium. And then Army Group B is the one that is pinning down the advancing into the northern Low Countries and advancing basically the northern thrust and advancing into the north part of the Low Countries. Okay, so there's that. So now, yeah, we'll do the supply check of these forces. These units don't have national supplies anymore. These capitals don't have national supplies because the supply route to London is cut off because the Germans control both the southern and northern parts of this region, this strait. I'm sure it has a name, but I'm not sure what the name is. If anyone knows what the name is, comments below. That would be really helpful. We can also look it up ourselves. What is the name of the straits/canals that link Antwerp, which is a major port, Antwerp to the British Channel? Let's find out. What is the name of the straits/canals that link Antwerp to the British Channel? I know that in 1944, Canadian forces fought there, basically, and it was quite a struggle to advance and secure this peninsula, essentially, and relieve the siege of Antwerp in 1944, which improved the Allied supply lines significantly. And then, of course, later on, the Battle of the Bulge, the main strategic objective for the Battle of Bulge for the Ardennes offensive in 1944 was to retake Antwerp from the Allies. And so then it says the main waterway linking Port of Antwerp towards the North Sea/British Channel region is the Scheldt Rhine Canal. Okay, there you go. Right. I think it's that blue line there. So that may be the region. I thought that this peninsula has another name. Is there a name for the peninsula that is there? Is there a name for the peninsula that it's there? This tiny peninsula. That's kind of what I want to know the name of. The main point I'm trying to make right now is that the Axis have cut off this region, whether it is the um, what's it called? The Scheldt Rhine Canal, or it may also be called, if you mean the landmass between Antwerp's access to the sea and the Northern Sea, the traditional name is the Walcheren Peninsula, the Valkuren Peninsula. The name doesn't sound familiar to me. If it may sound familiar to some of you, but based off of the documentaries, World War II documentaries that I've seen and books I've read, that name does not ring a bell. The Walcheren Peninsula, but we'll save that for another time for sure. Time allowing, God allowing, we can come back and explore that in the future because there's so much information to cover in World War II. So much information. Okay, so now we'll do the supply check. This unit's going to go out of supplies. Gone is that unit. We have secured Holland, and this Belgian unit is going to be reduced by one, and it is also going to be uh, encircled, reduced, suffer some supply loss. But other than that, all the German units are in supplies. This Belgian unit, of course, is out of supplies. And now we're going to see what the Allies do in response. We also can update the production. We've taken, we've secured, whatchamacallit, Amsterdam. And so now our production is going to increase by 4 production points. So from 45, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to go up back to 49. So that's good. But we have not secured Brussels yet. And the reason why we're trying to secure Brussels so much is that if we look at the rules, there's something called French morale. Here it is, 20.44. And it says France is demoralized when Poland is defeated and the Axis control a French/Belgian major city or Maginot Line hex. Effect: all French HQs are permanently disrupted. Its infantry revert to single fire. The artillery effect is lost, and Allied solidarity below must be checked. So there's a huge incentive to create something called French demoralization. And that's why we're targeting Brussels so much. We could have also tried to attack one of the Maginot Line hexes, but it's much easier to go for Brussels because, as mentioned earlier, the French fortress units have triple defense. So with 12, excuse me, 4 steps, that's the equivalent of scoring 12 hits compared to this Belgian unit which is now at level 3 and has double defense, we only need to score 6 hits. So half the amount of hits needed to overrun the Belgians compared to overrunning the French. So with that, we're going to switch now to the Allied side. We'll quickly go over to the Soviet side and see what the Soviets are up to, see if there's anything we can do with the Soviets. And I don't think we can because this HQ, the Stavka, is still at level 2, and we want to wait until it's at full strength before using it, before activating it. So there's that. We'll switch over to the Allies now. And now we're going to go ahead and hide this unit. And now we're going to go ahead and figure out what to do with the allies. It's a kind of a sticky situation, right? Because the original plan for the French and the Allies, primarily the French, was that they were going to reinforce the Belgian forces in some kind of sweeping move, reinforce the Belgian forces, and kind of have this northern flank moving north and try to reinforce the Low Countries before the Germans overran. Now, what happened in our scenario, which was different than the historical scenario, is that the Germans have completely overrun the Low Countries. Their blitzkrieg was so quick, they completely overran the Low Countries. And so the question is, what would the Allies have done historically? Would the Allies have continued to attack anyways, despite the low odds of success? Despite the fact that their original objectives are now gone, or would they come up with a new strategy and figure out how to proceed from there? And it's hard to say. It's hard to say what the best plan of action is for the Allies. I do know this: if they do nothing, the French are going to be demoralized one way or another. And so the primary objective, I would think, is to try to save Brussels as much as possible. So I think we are going to attack as the French. This is probably not the wisest move, but I'm curious to know if I played against one of you guys, what would you guys do? Um, but basically, I'm going to activate this second army group, this French second army group. It is not disputed or disrupted rather, but it cannot blitz. That's one of the rules. It says it somewhere here in the rule book, but basically the French, the Allies cannot blitz on the first turn for whatever reason. And I really don't know where that rule is, but for whatever reason, The Allies cannot blitz on the first turn. Oh, here it is. It says Gamelin. During the fortnight of Belgian surprise, right? Basically, when Belgium is under surprise due to the German declaration of war, Allied HQs in France cannot blitz. There it is. So we cannot blitz, which is unfortunate because we kind of need a blitz right now if we want to overrun the Germans. But most of the French units, as you can tell, like for example, these mech units, the French infantry units, they're all double fire defensively. They're not ideally suited for offensive operations. And so I'm thinking, what if we don't attack at all? We simply accept the fact that Brussels is going to fall, um, and we decide to defend instead. I don't think that's the wisest move. We have an armored core here, and I'm thinking we use this armored core to attack. So it's kind of hard to say what the best move is, what the best course of action is. I think we're going to go ahead and attack anyways and just try to pressure the Germans as much as possible. I think that's the game plan. So we'll go ahead and move this first army into Philippeville. These two mech units are going to also move into Philippeville as well. Then, I'm actually going to cancel one of them. And we'll go ahead and move this armored unit instead. We'll move this mech unit to Cambrai and have it stay there. And then I think that's really the extent of the French defense. We'll go ahead and also activate, I think this 15th Corps, this British 15th Corps. Now I'll have the British attack in the north, like so, and attack this German mech unit or whatever armored unit that's there. We'll go ahead and attack there. But I don't think we're going to attack one. As tempting as it is, we probably should attack one. I think we'll go ahead and attack anyways. See how many casualties we can inflict on the Germans. The problem with this game plan is that we don't have any reserves, any French reserves. Okay, what we'll do is go ahead and activate this French Supreme HQ, and we're going to move these two French infantry units from these cities in the south, Lyon and Marseille, and have them move to the north. So I'll move. Now, another option I can do is pull back from the Maginot Line, abandon the Maginot Line, and establish a new defensive line somewhere else. I don't think we're going to do that though. This is going to be a strategic rail move. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll put it right there in the town of Reims. And then we'll go ahead and move this French unit. Another strategic move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll put it in Paris. No, we'll put it in we'll put it in Cambrai, I guess. No, I think we can put it here. It's fine. And then this HQ over here, we'll have it move to Cambrai, like so. There we go. So we do have a little bit of a French reserve. But we are going to attack the Germans and see, because the German line is relatively thin, we might have a good chance of scoring some good hits against them. So we'll put an airstrike marker here. I think actually we're going to put the airstrike markers along the more contested hexes. Let's see how this battle goes. All right, let's start. Germans have double fire defense, only one division there. They do score a hit against the British. The British score 2 hits. They do neutralize that unit. Very nice. Now the Battle of Mons. See how this goes. Airstrike is only single fire, so no hits there. Germans roll. Ooh, when the Germans score 4 hits. Just like that, the situation has gone from bad to worse for the French. Scoring 4 hits. We're gonna put it on the two French armies. Each one is about 40,000. So if we lost 4 hits there, 160,000 French casualties, basically World War I level casualties, 160,000 casualties in 1 week of battle. The French get to roll. We get to roll 8 dice as well. Oh, one of them is double fire. Ooh, nice. All right. The French also score 4 hits. Very nice. The Germans are at 22,000 per step or per division, presumably. By the way, these steps are about a division. There might be a little bit more, a division in some. And so if they lost four, and each one is 22,000, presumably, based off of my calculations, we're looking at about 88,000 casualties. So still pretty high. So the Germans definitely took some losses there. And now the Battle of Philippeville, French counterattack. My reasoning is that we're not going to be stagnant with the French, like they were historically. We're going to put as much pressure as we can. Our objective is to inflict as many casualties as we can on the German army. That's the idea. Air power scores a hit. Germans roll. They score 1 hit because there's a Panzer Corps there. The French are in a position to do some nasty damage against the Germans. We got two double fire dice, and then 7 single fire. And like that, we score 2 more hits. One on the Panzer Corps and one on the German infantry. So altogether, we calculate the casualties that the Germans sustained. By the way, that 22,000 calculation I made is for the Eastern Front, but I'm assuming it's the same as it is on the Western Front. The Germans have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus 8.5. Um, because one of the cadre that was over there is 1.5. Germans have sustained 187,000 casualties, while the French and the British, the French have suffered 4 by 5. Plus the British, I think the British are going to be the same as the Germans, essentially, maybe a little bit less, maybe like 20,000 or 15,000, um, something like that. We'll say about the casualties have been basically the same. The Germans have suffered 180,000, and the Allies have suffered over 200,000 casualties. So the losses are pretty even between the Allies and the Germans. Very interesting. All right, and that's going to sum up the Allied turn. That's for the first fortnight. All right, there's that. We're now going to switch over to the back to the Axis, second fortnight. All right. All right, and we're gonna have to keep pushing forward. Oh, this Belgian unit is now out of it is back in supplies because the Allies have retaken Ostend. Okay, so now what we're gonna do with the Germans is we're gonna activate Army Group South this time, and we're also gonna blitz. Now I also am deciding, should we attack in the north? Should we try to make a move to attack in the north? I'm thinking we wait until we have better production, better reinforcements, better production, things like this, before we attack. This is going to cost 13 production points to build up. And I think we're going to wait another turn before we actually attack. Oh, and well, I forgot to check. This unit is out of supplies, isn't it? One of the Norwegian units, not the Dutch, but the Norwegian unit is out of supplies. One of them is out of supplies. So we can actually check on that. So this supply marker is for this unit here. So this unit is eliminated. All right. All right. So yeah, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait to build up our units before we make our move in the north. In the meantime, we're gonna blitz in the south. The way I see it is that we need to reinforce the front line. The French are relatively strong, but the priority is taking Brussels. If we can take Brussels, the sooner the better. So that's the game plan. So what I'll do is pull back this German infantry units. I'm gonna pull this unit back, put it in Namur for now. I'm gonna go ahead and move up. Actually, what I can do is we're gonna actually move it over here to Eindhoven, and then we will move in this German unit. One moment, no, we'll move this German unit into Brussels. This German infantry unit will march forward and reinforce Mons. And then now with the remaining Panzer Corps I have in reserve, I want to attack Brussels. So we're going to move 2 Panzer Corps into Brussels. So we got a pretty strong group there in Brussels. We pulled 1 unit out, 1 unit in, and 2 units in. And the hex limits, we only can have 1 hex limit across a river. So 1 hex limit there, another hex limit there, and then 2 hex limits in clear terrain. So altogether, 4 units can move in and out of Brussels. And we did 1 out and 3 in. So we've reached the hex limit for this battle. So we can't reinforce anything more. So there's that. I think what I'll go ahead and do is also move in another infantry unit into Mons. And then I'll go ahead and I still have 2 Panzer Corps in reserve. I'm wondering if I should try to attack the French at Philippeville. The French are really strong at Philippeville. They're really strong there. Um, they got a lot of double fire dice there. In fact, they have 9 double fire dice. So that's the equivalent of 18 six-sided dice. So presumably they could score 3 hits if we attack. Um, so I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and put 2 infantry units inside. And then I think on the next turn, we'll do some kind of swap. I'll move this infantry unit to Ardennes. So we have 2 Panzer Corps in reserve, and I'm trying to figure out where to put them, and I'm not really sure where to put them. Move around this HQ. We're going to restack this OKH with the airborne unit. So if we want to do any future airborne operation, we have that available. I think I'll move this. This infantry corps can move into Eindhoven. This infantry corps will move into Liege or Namur, like so. I think I'll move this 84th Corps also to Ardennes. I'm just trying to organize um, our ground forces a bit. OKH, where can that go? I think it's gonna have to stay put to where it's at. Army Group Center, I think, can move into Namur. And then we only have one more unit more to place. And I think we'll go ahead and put OKW over here. And we'll go ahead and move this Panzer Corps into Namur as well. And again, the idea being that we're just simply stacking up all our units as much as possible on the Western Front. So we could do another round of combat to attack Philippeville. I think we have enough infantry corps as a reserve if we do sustain heavy casualties. And the idea is, I think I'm going to give it an extra turn. We're going to wait an extra turn before we decide to attack. That's kind of the idea. But I do want to attack. I think it would be wise if I did attack, but I think, I know that if I was playing as the German army historically, they probably would attack. Go ahead and attack anyways. Because we're kind of like racing against the clock, right? The longer we wait to defeat France, the less production we're going to get. And in a sense, the production could replace our losses. So maybe we go ahead and do attack. Um, Also, another thing to keep in mind is that we have a lot to spend on as far as production goes. And so I want to make sure we have enough reserves available. No, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate OKW, and it's going to act as another air support. And oh man, but we don't really have that many strong units to attack. That's the problem. No, so we'll hold off. We'll hold off. We won't attack. I've decided. What I'm trying to say is we won't attack. If you can hear my audio. Um, okay. This is now time for a little bit more tea. And I think now we are ready to begin the next phase of combat. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll put the airstrike marker over here, like so. And then we'll go ahead and begin the next phase of fighting. So the only area that I'm actually going to attack is Brussels. We will not attack Phillyville or Mons. We will simply attack Brussels. And we'll see how it goes. We have to score 6 hits, so pretty high die roll to score some hits. So let's see how it goes. We score 3 hits with air support. Excellent. The defenders now roll. They score only 1 hit. Very nice. And now we need to score 3 more hits to break through. Maybe we can break through on 1 turn. Let's see. 1 hit from the Panzer Corps, 2 more hits of the Panzer Corps, and like that, we score 6 hits, and this Brussels unit is now eliminated. Wonderful. Wonderful. Very nice. All right. Oh, and I made a mistake. I have 4 units stacked up on here, but the 5th unit, if you have a 5th unit there, it's like we can't do that. I'm going to return that unit to the Ruhr. Maybe we leave it as it is, and we suffer a penalty of one of these units is out of supplies, basically. Um, I guess it doesn't really matter because we're now doing the blitz phase. And so now with the blitz phase, we'll move this unit to Rotterdam. We're going to send some German infantry to put pressure on the British. Now we can swing south and make a full attack on Mons. I'm going to pull back these 2 weakened German corps, and we're going to stack in the 2 German Panzer Corps. And then same thing over here. We're going to pull 1 unit out of Phillyville, and we're going to put a Panzer Corps into Phillyville, like so. So we've got this kind of mix of infantry and armor. Our main thrust right now is in these 2 hexes, Phillyville and Mons right now. Actually, it's the whole front. Um, but the main idea is that we are advancing forward. And we still have 1 more Panzer Corps in reserve. My goodness. And I'm not sure what to do with it. I don't think I'm going to use it. Right. Put an airstrike on one, and let's go ahead and see how the battle happens. First, we'll do the battle here at Ostend. The British have 8 double fire and 3 single fire. Ooh, they score 5 hits against the Germans. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ouch. Heavy casualties for the Germans there. We'll do the Battle of Mons. See how this battle goes. We roll air support, scoring 1 hit on the French mech unit, which was the strongest unit that was there. Then we're gonna roll 7 dice, all at double fire, scoring only 1 hit. Very nice. Germans roll the Panzer Corps. That's 2 hits, plus the infantry, 3 hits in total. And just like that, the French are at their breaking point right now in the center. Very weak position. And I think we'll go ahead and also attack Villeville as well. And kind of gamble the risk. Only one unit is gonna be affected by the morale, and that morale doesn't come into effect until the end of the um, political phase. And as you can see here, the political phase is not until after the combat phase. So right now we're in blitz combat phase, and only after the blitz combat phase do we do supply phase and political phase. And you can see here morale, it comes into effect there. Okay, so the French roll, we have no air support. The French are going to roll 9 dice at double fire, and the French score 3 hits. So our infantry are going to be the ones that absorb those hits. And now the German Panzer Corps roll. Oh man, no hits from the Panzer Corps, but the infantry do score 2 hits. Very nice. So the casualty rate is certainly mounting right now for both sides. It'd be interesting to calculate the total casualty rate thus far in the fighting. I think we'll go ahead and do that. Let's see. The Germans have suffered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 infantry. 17 infantry hits. And then 17 infantry hits. Plus 2.5 Panzer Corps hits. And so let's see the total German casualties. We're at nearly 500,000 casualties for the Germans right now. That's pretty high. If we look at Battle of France, you know, what were the German casualties during the Battle of France? Let's find out. Kind of interesting to know. Casualties, according to our calculations, wow, the Germans suffered much less, 156,000 casualties. And according to our calculations, we've suffered much more than that. I'm going to calculate that again, just to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yep. 429,000 German casualties is what I calculated. So well over double, almost 3 times, according to my calculations. The Germans have sustained nearly 3 times more casualties thus far in the battle, which is significant. Now let's see what the French and the Allies have suffered. I know they've sustained a lot of casualties. The French have suffered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Um, oh, actually, these armored units I don't think are actual armies, French armies. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, this also is not an armored unit either, or a army unit rather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 times 40 is what I calculate. And then we'll put it at 20,000 for the remaining units. So that's going to be um, 1, 2. Oh no, that actually was already a cadre. So 1, 2, 3. All right, the casualties are about the same. They're pretty even right now. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. And then 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So I calculate about 420,000 Allied casualties, not including the Belgians. If we were to include the Belgian, um, let's figure out how large was the Belgian army during the Battle of France. I think, presuming that it's about the same size as the British forces, so we'll mark that as 20,000, and it'll be 5 in Brussels, plus the fortress is another 3, plus the losses in um, the Ardennes forest. Oh, and we also include the Dutch. And in total, the Allies have suffered 700,000 casualties. So presumably, the Belgian forces were numbered about let's see, what was it? 5 plus 6. These are the 3 units, and the reason why I'm doing 5 is because the cadres are doubled, except for the militia unit, which the cadre won't be doubled. And so that's going to be times 20. I calculate that the Belgians had an army of 220,000 troops. And it says during the Battle of France, the Belgian army had mobilized a force of roughly 600 to 650,000 troops. So they were much larger. They were much larger than what I calculated. So that would suggest that this is times 40,000, the same size as the French. So I'll leave it at 440,000, but they may be presumably even larger than that. Um, but let's see, 9 times 40. So this is a kind of a rough estimation, but I'm calculating if you include the Belgian army and the Dutch. Let's see how large was the Dutch army during the Battle of France. I think the casualty rate there is about what I calculated right now is they're only a size of 60,000 troops, but they may be larger than that. They may be larger than that. So let's see what we get. 280,000 troops mobilized. So, if each, yeah, so my numbers are different. Um, the French army may even be larger than 40,000 per step. It may be as much as 60,000 per step. I'm not sure. The point is that both the Belgian and the Dutch armies both have been defeated. So we'll say that the Belgian army is at 625,000 and the Dutch are at 280,000. And so that's 930,000 troops. And if I divide that by the total amount of steps, including the cadres, you know, you get about 66,000 troops per step. So that's a lot. And if we assume that number is the case for the French, if we assume that that's the same casualty rate for the French, um, let's see how many casualties. Yeah, then the Allied casualty rate is at 654,000. So right now, my estimation for the casualty rate for the strictly the French and British forces is somewhere between 420,000 and 654,000 casualties. That's what I've estimated for the French and the British. Somewhere in the range of 420,000 to 654,000 casualties. Um, the low country casualty rate, the low country casualty rate is going to be 930,000 casualties, suggesting that the total Allied casualty right now is somewhere between, let's see, somewhere between 429,000 plus 930 is 1.359 million casualties. So there's a range from that to 1.584, 1.584 million casualties. That's basically more or less the range that I've calculated for the Allies right now, including the Low Countries, right? And then if you look at just strictly the Western Allied forces, which have been the ones that have been mostly doing the bulk of the heavy fighting so far, at least on par with the Germans, their casualty rate is anywhere between 420,000 and 654,000 casualties. And then the German casualty rate is 429,000 casualties. So in that sense, based off of my calculations, the ratio of German to Allied casualties is about 1 to 3, including the Low Countries so far in the fighting. But I think the bulk of the fighting has taken place already. I think this has kind of been the peak of the conflict, basically. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'll put this in the notes. But now we're gonna switch over to the Allied side and see what the Allies do. See their situation, assess their situation. Oh, and actually, before we do that, these areas, the Mon and Philippeville, are actually German controlled. So because they're German controlled, the Germans get to hide their units. Before we even wrap up the turn, we're also going to activate the French demoralization. So yeah, the French are demoralized. So we'll get this marker. I'll put it over here, and this will be occurs in May 1940. So, well, we can also do die roll for the mud on this fortnight. Still mud. Okay. Now, now we got to see what the Allies do. There's a big problem, which is that the Allied forces are demoralized, meaning that we cannot actually command any of the French units right now. None of these French units are in range because these HQs, when you activate an HQ here, it's going to be disrupted, meaning that it goes down by one, meaning that this HQ range is zero, meaning that it can only command the units along its individual hex, along the hex that it's located in. And as a result of that, it's out of supplies. Not, excuse me, not out of supplies, but it's out of command range, meaning that none of these units are able to supply, or excuse me, to command um, these other units located in the front line, basically. So the French cannot move, which is not good, no bueno. So I think what we'll do with the British, I want to pull back with the British. The problem, though, the problem with pulling back with the British is that if we do pull back, it leaves this part of the front completely wide open to a German attack. And so that's also a bit of a problem right now. So what do the Allies do? I think what we'll go ahead and do is command activate this French HQ anyways, and we'll get these French units to move to the north. And then what I'll do with the British is that I'm going to pull back to Pas-de-Calais. These units can move. They have a speed or a range of 3. Because they have a range of 3, there is no pursuit fire. These units do not have any pursuit fire because their speed/range is 2. So they cannot pursue. So the British are able to pull back without a problem. But it leaves Lille a bit vulnerable. So I'll go ahead and move both the 6th and 10th Army to Lille. And the French will fortify there. And basically, um, the rest of the situation is such that um, the French are going to simply have to hold out with what we have currently and wait until the next production turn to have our units built up a bit more. So we're going to do that with the British. I'm also thinking, no, I think we're good. I was going to think about activating this British Supreme HQ, but I don't think there's a need to do that right now. What I could do, no, it's okay. Yeah, yeah. So we'll pass. We'll pass on that. So now we're going to switch over to production. Now we're going to do Allied production. And this Battle of France, I've said the Battle of France is definitely intense. But we've kind of finished the kind of the what I would say the climax of the battle in essence. Clearly, the Germans are at this point. It's only a matter of time before the Germans win. Basically, we don't know how long it's going to take, but it's only a matter of time before the Germans win. The doubt of whether or not the Germans would be able to win is now over, right? And I may even wrap up the video right around here. Um, uh, I would be nice to continue the video, but I'm thinking um, that we save it for the next video. Um, and in this way, I might do a video editing. We'll see. But the idea is that the first phase, if you want to call it that, I think first and second phase of the Battle of France have taken place. The first phase was that initial breakthrough. The second phase was now the contesting of the Low Countries. And looks like the Germans, despite sustaining heavy losses, have done enough to disrupt Allied progress They've blunted the Allied counteroffensive, which effectively failed to save Brussels. The French are now demoralized. So that second phase is effectively over, and now we are here to conclude the campaign with an inevitable defeat of the Allied forces, an inevitable defeat of France. France is demoralized. It's only a matter of time before the French surrender or get overrun by the German Wehrmacht. So, no Allied reinforcements. We'll go ahead and do the Allied production, though. Their production, now that it's June 1940, they do gain 5 more production points, or 5, so they're at 34 production. And we're going to see what the Allies spend their money on. We're going to spend it on I say money, but production. We're going to spend their production on this HQ in London. We're going to build up this French Second Army Group. The idea being that this unit, although disrupted, will now be in range to pull back the 2 main French clusters, the 1st and 7th Army here in Philippeville, and the 1st, 9th, and 2nd Army, or excuse me, the 9th and 2nd Army located in Amon, and basically do a strategic withdrawal into mainland France. That's the main idea. So that's 20 production points. We have 14 left. We're going to go ahead and build up these 2 French infantry to fortify Lille. So that's going to be 8. We have 6 production points left. And I think the remaining 6 will go ahead and build up this mech unit, this British mech unit in Dover. So there's that. That's going to conclude Allied production. We'll now switch over to the Soviets. And now that it's a new season, now that it's officially summer 1940, because it's the month of June, what we can do is do a diplomatic event for the Soviets, where basically um, the Soviets can roll to reform their army, and more specifically, reform their HQs. And they can be better prepared for the conflict later on by reducing the cost of their HQs. So this is something that's automatically done by other nations. The cost of the HQs is at 10 production points, but for the Soviets, it costs they actually have to do it manually in the game. And this is probably for political reasons, the development of the Red Army under the Soviet regime, the development of the Soviet army. There's kind of this political tension, if you will, between the army and the regime itself, the Communist Party, as far as who has the most power in Russia. And so Stalin actually does his Red Army purges, which start, I believe, as early as 1938, and they're still ongoing as late as 1940. And basically, the Stalin is trying to create trying to create the Red Army in create his vision of the Red Army, his version of the Red Army. And the first thing he has to do is neutralize all competition in the regime, and that's what he ends up doing. He arrests and executes tens of thousands of, if not more, um, Red Army officers. How many officers were killed during the Soviet Red Army purge, including some of the brightest uh, military theorists, the ones who were responsible for granting victory for the Red Army during the Russian Civil War. A lot of those are basically neutralized during this Red Army purge. And so one of them develops a deep penetration strategy for the Red Army. There's a better name for that. And basically, um, it would take many years for the Red Army to come back to that sort of theory of war, that military theory, and put it in practice. It wouldn't be until 1944 with Operation Bagration that the Soviets are able to really achieve that theory and put it in practice effectively. But that's after, first of all, after the Red Army purges, and then after the what you could call the Wehrmacht purge, which when the German army invades the Soviet Union, they cripple the Red Army significantly as well. But here it says estimates vary because Soviet records were incomplete. The best supported modern estimate is about 7,000 to 8,000 Red Army officers executed. Um, 35,000 to 40,000 are removed from the Red Army. About 11,000 are reinstated by 1941. So yeah, I was saying tens of thousands, but I was a little bit off. Something on the order of 7,000 to 8,000 soldiers, officers, and you can presume that an officer say has about 100,000 troops under his command. Um, so if we take an average of those two, that's 7,500, and let's say they have about 100 troops under their command, probably more, and you're looking at on the magnitude of the command ability of almost 1 million soldiers, if not more. So it was a significant a portion of the Red Army that was affected, and those who weren't executed or weren't arrested, I think there were even more that were arrested. Um, Basically, the entire Red Army officer corps underwent a massive transformation. Okay, 30,000 to 35,000. So if we include executed and arrested together, and we take an average of that, it's going to be 75,000 plus 32,500. Exactly how much command influence do these officers have? And they have the potential to command on the order of 4 million soldiers. So a significant portion of the Red Army, pretty much the entire Red Army, was affected. The entire officer corps of the Red Army was deeply affected by this transformation. And so that kind of goes in tandem with this diplomatic event that we're doing now, which is the Soviets initiate Red Army reforms. And it's called S1 in the game. But the preconditions include the Finnish armistice, which I think occurred in our game. I think it was January of 1940. And then the Finnish armistice occurred in a previous season, which in this case was the winter 1939 season. So from December through May of 1940, that basically occurs. Um, and now we do a die roll, and if we roll a one or a two, we're going to get we're going to get a Red Army reform. We roll a five, so that is a failure, and the roll is going to be decreased for every single turn that it fails. So the next turn we can roll, and we get to reduce the die roll result by one per prior failure. So in the next turn, let's say if we roll a one, technically it would have been a roll of a zero, right? Or if we roll a five, technically it would have been a roll of a four. And in this way, after about six turns of failed results, we inevitably get the Soviet Red Army reform. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to look through the markers and look out for the Red Army reform marker. Here it is. I'm going to stack it on the diplomatic events that have taken place, and I'm going to call it, I'm going to say June 40, and I'm going to say fail. And in this way, we can kind of keep track of all of the diplomatic events that take place in this game. That's the idea, and when they occurred. And the reason why I do that is because the developers, they actually have a data table here called the Historical Diplomatic Events Data Table. And this data table shows you when the reforms took place, or excuse me, when the diplomatic events took place historically. So there's that. Interesting. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you for listening. This is a lot of information. I know this is a lot of information, but we're doing our best to pace ourselves here and make it digestible. And it's always, you feel free to pause the video, take a coffee break or something. I'm going to drink a little bit of tea because there's a lot of information to cover in a game like this. And this is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there are some war games that are far more complex than Eurofront, like Case Blue, for example. And it takes a lot of effort to understand these games. But I think there's some of the best ways to learn at least military history and get some sort of intuitive understanding of how military operations took place. And so it's a good starting place. This is why we're making the content. This is where there's obviously a lot more we can do in the long term, but for now, this is a useful tool. It's useful for me. I'm sure it's useful for you as far as figuring out, getting a feel, getting an intuitive feel, developing our intuition primarily on how military operations occurred in history effectively. So with that said, we do have one Soviet reinforcement, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in Lvov as well. And we're going to stack up on Lvov. The Soviet production is still at 18. It's still at 18 production. Um, so I think we're going to go ahead and pass the Soviet production on this month. So I'll go ahead and move it to July, and we'll call it 18 plus production points, like so, and we'll leave it at that. So that's it for the Soviets. Definitely a little bit of information there on the nature of the Red Army and the history of what's going on right now in the Soviet Union, at least with the Red Army. And now we can switch over to the German side and focus on their production. So their production actually went up by an additional two, because we've taken Brussels. So we're now from 49 up to 51 production points. So we basically gained six from the Low Countries, which is very nice. And so now with 51 production points, we're going to primarily build HQs. So that's easy. Build up three HQs that we have, field HQs, and then we're going to go ahead and I think what I'm going to do, I have 21 production points left. I kind of want to focus on, um, I kind of want to focus over here in the Mediterranean, excuse me, the Northern Front, because right now we're losing 5 production points per turn the longer we wait to take Narvik. So I think Narvik is a priority. So we're going to spend 5 on detail, another 8 on this mountain core. That's a total of 13. And so in total, we've spent um, 43 production points, meaning we have 8 left. And the remaining 8, I think we can spend that on infantry or armored units or something of this nature. We have a lot of understrength infantry. A lot of understrength infantry. And the idea is I have 3 full strength infantry corps, and I can get 2 more. I think I'll go ahead and do that. So 5 full strength infantry corps, pretty much the equivalent of 2 infantry armies, plus the other corps that are currently engaging. And the idea is that we can sustain the momentum that we've achieved so far and continue pressing forward um, into France. There's that. And so that was it. Relatively straightforward turn. Um, but yeah, I say let's keep pushing forward. Um, I could go ahead and take my coffee break or my tea break, but I'm saying I think let's keep pushing forward and let's try to finish up this Battle of France as smoothly and as effectively as possible. Let's go for it. So we're gonna go ahead and activate Army Group Center. And now we're in June. Oh, before I actually start the turn, we do have German reinforcements. We have this German unit, this new Army Group G. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it in Vienna. And the idea being is that we're going to start preparing our strategy to conquer the Balkans in the long term. That's kind of the next move. And I'm feeling pretty confident with France right now that France will fall inevitably. So we simply just have to push blitz on France, and that's what we're going to do next. So we're now starting what I would consider to be the third phase of conquering the conquering France. And the first phase was the conquest or breakthrough at Belgium. The second phase was blunting the Allied counteroffensive. And the third and final phase now is to now invade and conquer France itself. Now we could also do a Axis diplomatic event and see if we can get Italy to join the war. But basically, um, the preconditions is that the Axis control hexes in France. Currently, we have no control of hexes in France, so Italy remains neutral for now. So we're going to go ahead and blitz, and we're going to now push forward and overrun the French and mainly the French forces that are right now contesting us in southwestern Belgium. And so let's go ahead and do this. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to pull out one infantry unit. I'm going to put one unit forward, put pressure on Mon. Um, we have still one more Panzer Corps in reserve. So actually, what I will do, well, we'll cancel that. I'm going to pull out one infantry unit from Mon and put it in Ostend. And then we'll go ahead and move this Panzer Corps and put it in one. So we have three Panzer Corps stacked up in one. The idea being that we can achieve a breakthrough there as soon as possible. Next thing we'll do is we'll pull out this weaker infantry from Fileville, and then we'll reinforce a full strength infantry corps into Sedan. And we still have three full strength German infantry corps. I'll go ahead and I think maybe move one or two, not sure how many, into Lille. And the idea there is that we contest Lille. I think I can wait on the next turn to do that. So we'll go ahead and wait on the next turn to do that. And then I'll move weaker units into Holland and move this 38th Corps and bring it to Brussels. That way we have one extra division available to push into France. Move up an HQ, uh, move up armored units. And I could activate OKW again and provide some air support. I think we'll go ahead and do that. Go ahead and activate OKW. And the idea is that we have a bit extra air support available. And we'll move up these two infantry units into Brussels, actually. And we'll move the weaker infantry back. Yeah. Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. All right. And so we have two air supports. We're going to put a triple fire here in one, double fire here in Fileville, and we're going to, like I've said, push forward. And push forward is the way to go. Keep pushing forward. Nice and easy, nice and steady. We'll roll the airstrike, scoring one hit, removing the second French army. So we probably should keep track of the casualty rates um, for the Allies. I'm gonna just keep track of that to the best of my ability. And then we're gonna roll the French. The French roll two double fire, one single fire, scoring one hit against the Germans. Germans now roll nine double fire and three single fire. Nice. We score three hits with the Panzer Corps. And now more hits are added. So French losses are mounting. And this is what I mean. I think it'd be really interesting to have some kind of data set that tracks all these casualties, right? So um, I am learning how to program at the moment, and something that you know, I wouldn't ask it too much from y'all, but I think um, in the future, if you're interested, you can help me build um, a programmable version of a game like Eurofront. And what we can do is start creating a data table, some kind of data tracking system that allows us to track all the casualties in a given game because I think it's incredibly fascinating. There's a lot of data that we can acquire. I'm doing it manually right now, but there is software that allows us to do that. And I think it'd be extremely interesting to have some sort of way to track casualties in games. I think it's something that a lot of games are missing right now is the ability to track casualties, especially for strategy games like this one. So if you're interested, again, feel free to comment below, let me know. But for now, I'll do it manually. It's not a problem. But the question I have is, well, could we compare the casualty rate for the month of May with the month of June? And I guess I can kind of do that manually right now, like so. Um, but with that said, let's go ahead and do the Battle of Philaville. Airstrikes scored two hits. Ouch. The French are almost at their breaking point. We've already broken through in the center. The French rolled four double fire, one single fire, scoring two hits against the Germans. Not bad. Oh, we should probably track the German casualties as well. So I am tracking the data manually. I think the Germans so far have suffered three casualties for them so far. Two in one in Mons, two in Philaville. Now the German Panzer Corps roll six double fire, scoring one hit, five single fire. So we only scored one hit against the French. But we also scored hits in with airstrikes, right? So that was I think we scored one hit with airstrikes, if I'm not mistaken. No, we scored two hits with airstrikes. So one, two, three hits additional to the French. Yeah, so the casualty rate is definitely mounting up for the French. Um, and I've actually technically I forgot to unhide these units during these battles. I think I unhid. I don't think I did, but typically you want to obviously unhide all your units when you do a battle. That's something to keep in mind. But we'll go ahead and hide that unit. We can now hide these units because the battle is over. At least the first phase of the battle is over. Deactivate the Supreme HQ. Then Army Group Center. We can now do the Blitz phase for Army Group Center. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to chase down the British, even though the casualty rate could be really high for the against the British. We're going to chase down the British and keep pressure on the British Army as much as possible. Um, we'll also put pressure on Lille, and then we're going to now march forward. I think we'll send 2 Panzer Corps forward into Cabrai, and now we'll do another battle here in Philippines. We'll simply swap out the infantry. That's pretty much all I'm doing. And just kind of shifting around some of the reinforcements a little bit. Um, yeah, that's really all I'm doing right now. Um, Organizing my forces, moving around some corps here and there. But the idea is that I have as many frontline strong units as possible. I'm only attacking 2 units with Lille. I don't want to try to break through and overrun Lille. I'd rather encircle it. And so that's what I'm going for right now is trying to encircle Lille. But the main battle right now, I think it's going to be this battle here in Philippines. But I think I'm going to put the airstrike in Cabrai instead, and just do a full, try to go for a full breakthrough there. All right, so we'll start with the battle here in Pas-de-Calais. See how this battle goes. The British are quite strong. Yeah, they scored 4 hits again. We have unsupported combat because we're out of range of this HQ. We do score a hit though, which is not bad. But let's see, the German casualties are mounting. The British casualties are also mounting. Right now, I'm only comparing French and only French. I'm kind of combining French and British casualties, but you know, as part of that data set, it'd be nice to distinguish both. Although right now the British have only sustained about 40,000 casualties, so it's kind of easy to keep track of. We'll do the Battle of Lille, double fire, scoring 1 hit against attacking Germans. We do have combat support, so we're rolling 6 single fire dice. We do score hits, nice. So let's see, the French sustain another loss, and the Germans sustain another loss as well. Then, as far as the Battle of Cambrai is concerned, this is the French field HQ. We score a hit with air support. The French do not roll any dice. They have no combat value, only command value. Panzer Corps roll, and we score 2 more hits. And just like that, we overrun the French. We overrun the French just like that. Now, I will consider the cadre strength of the field HQ as there are such thing as HQ units. So for the French, we will add uh, two more uh, step losses there for the French. And then we'll do another round of Philippine without combat support this time, which is fine. The French are pretty weak. 3 double fire and 1 single fire. Oops. Yeah, so they scored 2 hits against the Germans. The Germans are going to roll now. Um, 6 double fire, 5 single fire, and they scored 2 hits. And one of them is being placed on the core. This French unit it's a core. It's not an army. And the Germans, I think, sustained 2 hits as well. Right. And that's going to conclude the German turn right now. We'll pass on the Soviets. That seems to be pretty straightforward, quite obvious, I would say. Oh, I actually forgot to hide the German units at Philaville, indicating that they are the defenders, technically. So now the Germans are the ones launching their own like localized counterattacks. Technically, they're counterattacks, but they're actually part of a larger offensive. Um, and so now the French can't do anything. The French literally can't do anything. They don't have any HQs available to do anything. So this is the breaking point for the French army. Um, this is the breaking point. What we're going to do is activate uh, this Supreme HQ, and we're also going to activate this HQ, and we're going to make it an invasion HQ. This 21st Army Group HQ is going to be an invasion HQ, and we're actually going to blitz. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull back, do a sea invasion, but in reverse, a sea invasion in reverse. And the way that works is that we just select the area where we're going to pull our units back. We're going to pull back 2 units via sea invasion, and we're going to pull back 1 unit via sea move, which is basically a regular Supreme move. And that's what's going on with this Supreme HQ. So we'll start with the Supreme HQ move first, and we'll go ahead and move this mech core, and we'll bring it over to Dover. Uh, Actually, what I'll do is I'll bring it over to Portsmouth. And then I'm also going to do another Supreme move, moving this Field HQ also to Portsmouth. So that's one move there. We'll do one of the invasion moves. Move this amphibious unit over to Dover, like so. Um, we have 2 more Supreme moves left. Oh, actually, we can't move it to Dover. We have to move the invasion moves actually have to be located where this HQ is located. So the first move is going to be moving to London. Another Supreme move will be to move this second Canadian Corps, and I'm not sure where to put it. I think we'll put it in Dover for now. So we have one more Supreme move left, and I got to figure out what unit I want to move for that. I don't think there's any units that I do want to move. Yeah, I don't think there's any unit that I want to move at the moment. I'll go ahead and move this armored unit to Portsmouth. All right, so that concludes the Supreme moves. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4 Supreme moves. And then we're going to go ahead. I should also probably check to see if the the French will surrender. I don't think they will because we had so many British units located in near Belgium. So the morale rules don't come into effect um, because we had so many units. The British Expeditionary Force was still in France, so we won't worry about that on this turn. But on the next turn, we can definitely roll to see French morale take place and see if the French will surrender, basically. Um, and then we'll finally do the Blitz phase of the invasion. And we're going to pull back this 8th Corps and have it retreat from Pas-de-Calais and have it move to London. And it is a mech unit, so I believe its speed still remains a speed of at least 2, if not a speed of 3. Um, and so it is not, there is no pursuit fire right now from the Germans of this unit. Um, I think that's how that works. So we'll go ahead and deactivate the 21st Army Group. And that's going to conclude the British turn. The French can't do anything. Oh yeah, these two French units should be unhidden because Philippeville is German controlled. And that's going to conclude the Allied turn. Now the Allies should decide here and now if they want to offer a French armistice or not. And there's some advantages to offering a French armistice a little early on. The idea being that if the Germans decide to conquer France, it's going to be a lot harder for them to conquer North Africa because these units are going to be fully active. They're going to actually switch over to the Allied side. They're going to become British units, basically, British and American units, if the Germans decide to conquer France. And so I'm thinking right now, you know, that we do offer a French armistice. I think we do offer a French armistice at this point during the Allied political phase. Or if we don't offer a French armistice, the Germans are obviously going to be able to conquer Paris without any resistance. And then they're going to put some of our French units out of supplies in North Africa, which would mean that it's going to be easier for them to conquer French North Africa if they decide to go to war with the remainder of France. So we are going to offer a French armistice. Do the Germans want to accept playing as Germany as well? We are definitely going to accept that armistice. And so with that, the French are now going to surrender this turn. So we're going to remove the remaining French units from the map. What I'll do is kind of organize the dead pile a little bit, move this dead pile over, and the remaining French units will surrender. And I guess we can calculate to see how many remaining French units have surrendered, right? Kind of interesting. So I'm calculating all these other groups. That's, what is that? That's 5, 10, 14. Yep, that's right. Like so. And with that, the French army is dissolving big time. The French army is basically dissolving at this point. And then all these other French units will, all these other French units are also going to dissolve as well. A lot of them are going to become part of Vichy France, meaning that they're going to be pro-Axis and they're cooperating with the Axis. So we won't count those as French casualties, basically. But all the other remaining French units are going to be troops that go and become POWs. So if we calculate the Allied casualty rate now, we're at nearly totaling 3.4 million casualties for the Allies, the French and British, respectively, which is a lot. And then we can also calculate how many casualties did the French sustain this month. Well, I guess including the units that surrendered, 2.8 million casualties this month for the French. And as far as those that were lost in combat, let's see, nearly 846,000 casualties sustained in combat, which is pretty high. And let's compare that to last month. Let's see how many casualties did the French and British sustain in the last month of fighting. About 654,000 casualties. So this time the French suffered more casualties this month than they suffered in the last month, just from combat. And actually, within that combat, most of the casualties were likely due to those cadres surrendering. So that's quite significant. And then let's see what the German casualty rate is. German casualty rate is in total. Let's see here. It's not. It's this one. I think it's about 220,000. So in total, the Germans have sustained about 649,000 casualties, according to my calculations. And I think against the just against the British, the Germans sustained something like 200,000 casualties just against the British, which is pretty significant. So Germans definitely sustained a lot of casualties during this battle. France, but we successfully conquered France in the same timeline as the Germans conquered France historically. The Battle of France was from May 10th until June 25th. So we actually conquered France on the first fortnight of June. So presumably around June 14th, June 15th, something like that, did we conquer France. So we actually conquered France more quickly than we conquered France historically, but it came at greater casualties, nearly something like I think like five times, 4 or 5 times more casualties for the Axis, namely the Germans. But Allied casualties, if we look at what the casualty rate for the Allies was in this conflict, um, it says 2 million. But the total strength of the Allies was 3.4 million. So let's see. Does that include the British divisions? Excuse me, the Low Country divisions? Yeah, it does. So my calculations are definitely off then. If well, I calculated 3.4 million Western Allied casualties. That includes the French. So no, so I think it might be more like 2 million casualties for the French then. And then about another million for the Belgium and Dutch forces. They had about a million troops, and the French army had about 2 million troops, give or take. Let's see. Let's see what ChatGPT says. How large was the French army during the Battle of France? How large was the French army during the Battle of France? Let's find out. Okay, it's about 2 to 2.3 million personnel. Okay. So yeah, I think my original calculation of the French, each French step at being 40,000 was accurate, not 66,000, but rather 40,000. So these figures are off. So the French suffered about 560,000 casualties, I believe, on the uh, first fortnight, or excuse me, on the first month or the second month, I think, and then yeah, excuse me, the second month they suffered 560,000 casualties. The first month, 420,000 casualties in total, including the units that surrendered, 2.18 million casualties. So about half of the casualties that the French army sustained were from combat casualties, including those that were captured in combat. Um, about 1 million of them in both months occurred in um, about 1 million occurred due to combat losses, and then the second half is the French army, the remaining French army, basically surrendering due to the French armistice. And British casualties have been relatively low. I think British losses are about 40,000 casualties. Let's see how many British casualties were sustained during the Battle of France. And they sustained, wow, 200,000 captured. Really? That's a lot. That doesn't seem right. No, I mean the British, it's saying the British sustained 300 and no, I don't think this is right because most of the British forces evacuated at Dunkirk. How many British units evacuated at Dunkirk is the next question we got here. It says 338,000. 198,000 British evacuated from Dunkirk, and the British Expeditionary Force total strength was 338,000. So that means the British sustained about 140,000 casualties during the Battle of France, 70,000 of which were killed. The remaining are wounded. So yeah, these figures aren't right. They're not adding up. They're not adding up. But as you can tell, if there's any takeaway right now, is that the measuring casualties in World War II or any war, any historical war for that matter, pretty much any war, I'm pretty sure, is a very messy process. But I hope this was insightful. I hope this was interesting. The idea being that sooner or later, humanity should be able to record, you know, all our casualties in history and have some kind of database that tracks them to the best of our ability. That's what this humble historian thinks should be done. Um, and I think World War II is a good starting place for that. I think World War II is a really good starting place to just track all the data as far as casualty rates are going. Um, Starting with casualties, wounded in action, but mostly killed in action, of course. But the idea being that we can track that data some way, somehow. And obviously, you don't have to only focus on casualties. You can also focus on the total amount of manpower that's available at any given time for any given operation, so on and so forth. But this was an interesting exercise. I'm probably going to keep doing this for the rest of our game. But as you can tell, it's the bigger the operation, the messier the data is. And, you're trying to track it with respect to every month. You're trying to track it with respect to every faction. And you're also trying to track it with respect to, um, I guess, location as well. Location, faction, and time frame are basically the three variables in which you're trying to track the size of your units as well as the casualty rates that they are sustaining. So there's that. Um, we're going to now switch over to the next fortnight, and basically the Battle of France is over. Germany has conquered France. Vichy France was declared. I don't know if there's a marker indicating that there's Vichy. Oh yeah, here it is. Vichy cooperates. That's the next marker that we'll use. This will be in June 1940. And so what happens? Germany is going to gain all the French production. So French production disappears. Um, French production was at 12. The Allied production is going to go down from 34 to 22, meaning that all that's left is British production, which is at 22. Then German production is going to go up by 14, and that's because the Germans they gain double the production for resource areas. So Lille has a mining site that's doubled. Metz has a mining site that's also doubled. So instead of gaining 12, they're going to gain 14 altogether. So from 51 now up to 55 production. Excuse me, from 51 up to 65 production. So that's going to be the shift in production there. And now, I think what we'll go ahead and do is make an attack on Narvik. Go ahead and do this operation as well for the next fortnight. Do it before I forget. But now the Battle of Narvik continues. This time it's going to be a German ground operation, and we're facing this British corps. Um, and let's see how the battle goes. We have double fire air support and double fire with our infantry. So we have pretty good odds of defeating the British. British have single fire, they score no hits. We have 7 double fire, we scored 3 hits altogether. So we do neutralize the British by 1, like so. And that's going to conclude this battle. That's going to conclude this battle there. And that's that. And so that's going to conclude the second fortnight for the Axis. We'll switch over to the Allied side, and I think we're going to wrap it up right around here. We'll do the production, and then we'll move on to the next phase of the game. But let's see. The British successfully evacuated from France. We'll go ahead and do British production. And with 22 production points available, the main priority right now is to basically start preparing for the Mediterranean front. But before we do that, I want to make sure that the British have all their units built up at full strength. I don't think the British sustained any casualties, so that's good. But we want to make sure that we have as many full strength HQs and full strength units for the conquest or for the campaign of France, rather. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and build up this HQ. Actually, I probably will hold off on that. And I'm going to go ahead and build up this armored unit. So that's going to cost 8. Um, I think I want to build up this British HQ over here and just try to hold out Narvik as much as possible. So that's going to cost 12 production points. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to try to hold out Narvik as long as possible. That's pretty pricey for the British, but I figure as long as we slow down the Germans as long as possible, it's going to pay off. So we spent 20. We only have two left. So actually, I'm gonna cancel this armored build, and I'm gonna build up this uh, Supreme HQ instead. So that's gonna be 10 production points there, plus 12 in Narvik for a total of 22. Then we'll switch over to the Soviet side and go ahead and do Soviet production. Soviet production is at 36 production points this time. Let's see if they gain any production in this month. And they do not. They do not. Not until summer 19, or excuse me, winter 1940 do they gain production. But we do have 36 production, and I'm thinking let's go ahead and hold off on that because we want to have that Soviet reform take place so that the production cost of HQs goes down to 15. So before we spend anything, we want to build up um, or reduce the cost rather of our HQs before we spend any production. Now we could spend it on ground units, but our ground units are relatively strong. Maybe we can build up like these mech units and infantry units. Not a bad idea, but I think we can hold off on production another turn. Let's do the die roll. We roll a 3, and the rule for the Soviet reforms, Red Army reforms, is that we have to roll on a 1 or a 2. But because we failed on the prior turn, we basically reduce the die roll result by 1 for the prior failure. So technically, we roll a 2, which satisfies the condition, and so we do successfully get the Soviet Red Army reform, like so. So we'll change this. This is now going to be for July 1940. And we're on the July 1940 production phase. And let's see if we get any Soviets. We do get Soviet reinforcements. Very nice. And we're going to put this unit in Vinica. I'm also thinking what I might do. I think I might go ahead and no, I think we're good. We're good on Soviet production. We can hold off for another turn. We're now going to switch over to the Axis production. We finished the Soviet production. Axis production is at 65 production points this time. It bumped up from 51 to 65. We'll spend 5 over here on Namsos, the detail HQ. I'm thinking maybe we go ahead and spend 16 production points on this ground unit over here. Might as well. If we have 60 production points, 60 minus 16 puts us at 44. I might go ahead and build it up just because I want to really increase the odds of our success at Narvik. Maximize the odds of success there. So we have now 44 production points left. I think we'll focus on HQ production, especially the Supreme HQs, which need to be built up. And then, so that's 20. We're now down to 24 production points. And now with the remaining 24, let's build up the mech units, or the armored unit that was lost. This is going to cost 12 production points. I'm going to go ahead and place it on the Eastern Front. Go ahead and place it, I guess, in Königsberg. And now we have 12 production points left. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is probably build up the armored units if I can. Put up this armored unit. That's going to cost 8, so we have 4 production points left. And then maybe go ahead and build up this 1 infantry unit here, like so. And that's going to conclude the German turn. Um, Now, it'd be wise for us to occupy as much of all these French ports. We should probably occupy all these French ports before the British make a move on them. But I think we'll start saving that for the next game turn. The next thing we're going to do as well for diplomatic events, this happens automatically, but basically Italy is going to join the Axis automatically now that France is defeated. And so it's called IX, the diplomatic event, and this occurs in July of 1940. So the Italian production is now going to enter the game. And if we look at the setup sheet, the Italians have 8 production points. So the Italians are going to contribute to the German production from 65 now up to 73. And now what we're also going to do is deploy the Italian army. And so we have to count how much production we're getting from 1939. This is the 1939 setup for the Italians. But since then, they've been gaining 8 production points per turn, but actually 1/4 of that because of peacetime production. So let's see, October, November, December of 1939, followed by January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So I count 10 months of production at 1/4 the production rate. So it's going to be 10 times 2 rather than 10 times 8. And that's going to be 20 production points altogether that we get. And so we'll go ahead and spend 10 on this theater HQ because it's been deactivated, the Mediterranean front. You can see these rules in the Mediterranean front rule book. I guess I'll quickly show you that just for those of you who want to follow and want to understand this in a clearer fashion. You can look this up in the Mediterranean front rules, 21.3, but basically it talks about the production rate during deactivation. Let's see if I can find it. It talks about initial allocations. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for rules that talk about production rates during peacetime production. Uh, or during deactivation. And I know it's in here somewhere. Um, oh yeah, prior to Mediterranean Front activation, Mediterranean Front building is paid for with Western Front production points at double extreme cost. After activation, MF production is tracked separately. So that's that. So this is actually, normally they cost 5 production points apiece. You can see that in the data, unit data. THQs, Theater HQ, you can see they cost 5 for every step for the Axis, Allies, and extreme costs. But because the Mediterranean front was deactivated, it's going to cost 10. So I'm going to go ahead and build 10 there. Then the remaining 10, I'll build up these 2 militia units, 3 apiece. So that's going to cost 6. And then the last one I'm going to build up, I'll go ahead and build up this Italian 8th Army and build that unit up as well. And so here's the entire Italian army. The conditions for the Italian army is that you have to put them all these units in major cities. In major cities, the restricted units, which are the ones indicated by this orange R, are restricted to the Mediterranean front. So we're going to put 1 per port, 1 in Tripoli. Close this. Oh, did I just close the rule book? Here we go. 1 in Tobruk, 1 in Libya, 1 in Benghazi, and this one that says EA down there says EA. I'm going to actually put it in East Africa. And this unit is going to be located in Ethiopia, or excuse me, not Ethiopia, but yeah, it's going to be located in Ethiopia, like so. So there's that. That's the Italian Mediterranean front units that are being deployed. And then the remaining units are going to be deployed. They can be deployed anywhere in Greater Italy, which includes the Italian mainland, includes Sicily, it includes Albania. It also includes Sardinia as well. But we can put them anywhere here, but we need to have one unit in every major city. So we'll start by putting a unit in Rome, Naples, Trieste, um, Turin, Genoa, one unit in Sardinia, one unit in Sicily. I'm going to put two Italian units in Albania. And then, let's see, any other major cities? Oh, yeah, one in Milan. And then this mech corps, I'll go ahead and put it in Fiume, basically bordering Yugoslavia. The idea being that we can invade Yugoslavia later on with that mech unit. And that's why I have two Italian units in Albania, because I want them to invade Yugoslavia or Greece, so on and so forth. And so that's going to conclude the Axis turn, or Axis production. The weather is now dry on all the fronts. And now we are ready for the next phase of the conflict. The Battle of France is officially over. Now we're going to have the next major strategic decision for Germany. Germany needs to decide, are they going to push to a Mediterranean strategy? Are we going to focus on trying to take something like Gibraltar, uh, North Africa? Are we going to try to go for Egypt? Are we going to try to go for the oil fields in Iraq and Persia? Or are we going to focus on a invasion of the Soviet Union strategy and conquer the Soviet Union and go for those resources? Either way, playing as the Third Reich, the primary objective is to expand and conquer Europe and conquer the colonies of Europe essentially during that period. And we're going to develop a strategy to figure out what the next course of action is, and it's going to change the course of the war essentially. But already the first kind of precondition to even grant, Hitler's Germany the ability to conquer any additional other parts of Europe. First, he had to conquer his main military opponent, which was the French army, which was the main military opponent for Germany in 1940. Excuse me, in the First World War, and also was the case in 1940, as we saw just now, exactly now. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Comments and questions down below. I really appreciate hearing from y'all, and I'll see you in the next video. Do take care, folks, and have a good one. Peace out.